I don't know what I'm calling today's thing. I'm just going to talk because I just met someone on the beach, and she has a child that she was wanting to kind of initiate him for his 13th birthday. And the thing that was like on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't kind of vocalize it because it's a bit weird, and I don't really kind of, it was just a weird thing. So we kind of like talked about initiation and blah 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 and different components of nature, and then I was like, because the son's quite brave physically, and has almost like self-initiated himself with like backflips of off bridges, and I was like, well, initiations are supposed to like create a container where you relate with the things that you're most afraid of in a safe way. And she's like, oh, he's not afraid of anything. I'm like, yes, we're all afraid of something. And she was like, and it was interesting because I was going to suggest this ritual anyway, even though I didn't know it, and it was like actually being buried in things. She's like, oh, we're both claustrophobic, and even just like having a doona over our head is like scary. And I'm like, oh yeah, you should definitely do this. And kind of, so I explained what it was that, like, because I do this every month, like every 28 days. It's not so much a fear thing for me anymore, although it kind of a little bit was when I first did it. It's I do it to align myself with the pulse and rhythm of the earth. Women, I feel like, have this just like built into their physiology with their kind of their 28-day cycle. And if you're a man in a relationship with a woman, you will just align to her cycle anyway, in the same way that a pendulum, like a grandfather clock, the pendulums will all align to the clock that has the largest pendulum. And I feel like just because the women have the largest spectrum of kind of hormonal or emotional capacity, the men will just by nature kind of align to their cycle. But I'm not in a relationship, so my relationship's with the earth. So what do? I make love to the earth as frequently as possible. No, well, I do in a way, with a variety of, maybe not, let's just say this foreplay. There's no penetration. But what talking about? Okay, so one of my practices is on a new moon is I will bury myself in the earth. I will literally dig a grave, and on the beach, like a deep grave, it takes me a while, like past my knees, and I make it as clean as possible, and it's all kind of ritualistic and a ceremonial process where I'm like literally identifying with the patterns of behavior, the immature, dysfunctional patterns of behavior that have surfaced over the past 28 days, because I'm also doing a variety of different kind of like therapeutic medicines that are aligned to this 28-day process that trigger and surface these things as a way of like re-relating with them in a healthier way. And so it's almost like an integration process where I'm like literally with my body, I'm thinking about these things as I'm digging into this grave, and I'm like not frustrated, but I'm just like trying to be as kind and compassionate as possible regarding like, but just kind of aware that we're all kind of neurotic and half insane, even like just as mortal creatures, before we're actually being programmed with some of the shitty role models and dysfunctional behaviors from individuals around us. So I'm doing it in a kind of compassionate way, but I'm thinking of these little behaviors, and I'm using them as fertilizer to give them back to the earth. And so I will literally either with the snorkel. So if I'm doing it with a snorkel, it's usually with someone that I know, because I'm not going to do it like with a complete stranger, although there's nothing really wrong with that. But if I'm just going to do it on my own and I'm just going to the beach and just going to pick some random person that's going to blah blah blah, that's going to bury me, because what I'm doing is I drew a mandala around it, and then when I'm finished, whoever walks past, I'm just like, hey man, or lady, can you bury me please? And people find it really moving and touching and meaningful. Like one woman that had walked on this beach for 10 years was like, wow, this is the most meaningful walk I've ever been on, when she finished burying me and was jumping on me, and I'm like, you need a packet. So I was really tired and I feel really heavy and compressed, and it's like, so yeah, I've buried maybe like 25 people now as well, and kind of fears can come up. The first time it's done, it's like, yeah, it just reminds me of a kid, being a kid. But, so yeah, I do it, and then I'll stay under there for like half an hour, breathing, either through the snorkel, contemplating, being aware of like all the processes that are happening in my body. It's really easy to feel like the breath and the blood flow in your toes, like hearing your heart beating. Is like, it's a hack. It's like the opposite of sensory deprivation. It's like sensory fucking overwhelm. And so, yeah, that's one of the rituals that I do when as a way of like aligning myself to the earth, which then once you're aligned to the earth's pulse and the lunar cycles, then it just feeds into the kind of like the solar cycles and the pulse of the universe. Yeah, I think that's about it. Bye.